Hi, I'm Andre McEwen, and this is my infographic about the concept of price elasticity. So, what is price elasticity of demand? Price elasticity of demand is a measurement of the change in consumption of a particular product in relation to a change in its price. Expressed mathematically, it is the price elasticity of demand is equal to the percent change in quantity demand divided by the percent change in price, or as a coefficient that is E for elasticity of price is equal to D quantity over D price over price. Put simply, the elasticity of a price is determined by the percentage of the amount demanded divided by the price demanded. And there are two types of elasticity. There is elastic, where a small price change can lead to large demand changes, and inelastic, which large price changes lead to small demand changes. Here are the two graphics for the elastic and inelastic demands. So the effects of price changes on elastic demand. So price increase. So as the graph shows, with a 20% increase in the price from $50 to $60, the demand decreases by 50%. If the price was to decrease, uh, it would decrease by only 16.6%, but your income of sales would grow by 50% because of the relatively flat demand curve here. So decreasing the price of the product to $50 each gains 50 units sale per time period. This is $5,000 total, whereas at $60, only 50 units are sold, which is $2,000 less income. So a drop of only 16.6% in the price leads to an additional $2,000 in sales. Massive growth. But the effects of price change on inelastic demand. So as the graph shows, with an increase of 40% in the price, we see a demand decrease of only 10%, not a major difference. But inversely, a decrease of 28.5% would increase sales by 10%. Excuse me. Increasing the price of the product to $14 each loses 8 units of sale per time period. However, $14 multiplied by 80 units is $11.20 or $1,120, which is $240 more than the 88 units sold at $10 each. So you can see that increasing the price by 40% loses 8 sales, but increases the total revenue by $240. So the determinant of elasticity of demand. There are 5 main ones, and one I've added myself as well that I believe is an important determinant. So there are tastes and preferences of consumers. Those can just be brand loyalty, quite simply, quite often. And then there is related goods prices, so any substitutes. For example, butter and margarine. Most people would argue butter is better than margarine in baking and sandwiches or any other use you have for it. But the prices are much, much higher. We're looking at sometimes 300% increase to switch from margarine to butter. Then there's the income of the buyer, as well as the income share. So buyers' incomes, if they have less disposable income for various commodities, then they have to decide which ones are more important to purchase. And it's also down to the income share. For example, uh, a perfume might go up by from $50 to $55, your favorite perfume. That's not going to make a major impact on the fact that you're going to buy a bottle every month. However, let's say you spent $30,000 a year on a car upgrade, and that went up to $50,000. That is such a massive change in the proportion of income that you would be spending on it that affects the elasticity of demand as well. Then there's buyers, the number of, aka the aggregate demand. So the total number of people who actually want to buy things alter the price. That's when we find the equilibrium for the supply and demand graph, because if there is no demand, the prices invariably have to go down. But if there is a high demand, then producers can request a higher price for their commodity. There's expectations for the future, which I put there, aka time frame. A good way to explain this is winter wear. Um, no, the warehouse in New Zealand is the most place where Kiwis get their winter wear from, and deciding when to start selling it to customers is an important choice, because if you sold winter wear at the dead beginning or middle of summer, you're not going to get many sales. Nobody wants a woolen beanie or a nice snuggy jacket during summer, even though you may have some bad weather. However, selling it at the end of summer or during midwinter, your prices can increase because there is a much larger demand. And finally, is luxury versus necessity. Essentially, demand for jewelry is a luxury, and it will be affected quite heavily if prices go up, because luxury spending is not a necessity and can be cut out of the budget. But necessities you have to buy regardless of what the prices are. There are some substitutes. There is switching from milk to soy, which may be cheaper per litre, or from diapers, disposable diapers, to reusable diapers. But for some people, they don't want the substitute, so they have to remain with the necessity. And this also dictates what can happen in the elasticity of demand for that particular commodity. So here are two scenarios. So in a scenario to exemplify elastic demand is, what is tomato sauce? What is tomato sauce is used a lot in New Zealand. The demand is high. However, if the price was to increase to a significantly higher price, most consumers would change to a cheaper alternative brand or another source product entirely. Everyone wants to support Watties. It's a Kiwi brand, or was. I believe it's been produced in Australia now. But people want to remain true to that with brand loyalty. That was our T in the tribal earlier on the determinants. But if the price doubled or tripled, for example, people would be more willing to switch to HP sauce from Britain, or some Heinz ketchup, or even budget brands and home brands, or entirely just switch over to barbecue sauce or mayonnaise or whatever. It depends on the usage. So that makes that product, that particular commodity, elastic. Inelastic would be petrol. Petrol has few alternatives. If you already own a car, then you must use the 91, or whatever your car uses, most commonly 91. There is no alternative to fill the car. Substitutes, such as walking, cycling, or public transport, exist, but for some, a personal vehicle is a necessity. If you live quite far away from work, or if your child has to go to school that's not on a common bus route, or it's on the other side of town, it's just not an option for some people. So therefore, small changes in the price of petrol are not likely to alter the demand by a significant factor. You could argue, oh, we could switch to LPG in our vehicles, hybrids, or electric. Absolutely, but the cost to do that is rather immense for a trend changeover or to completely get a new vehicle. And there has to be that sort of weigh up of the opportunity cost there to decide, is it worth paying the extra 10% for petrol if it were to go up? Or is it better to spend $30,000 or $5,000 upgrading the car or buying a new one to avoid that product? Excuse me. So, why is an understanding of price elasticity of demand important for businesses? Because understanding the determinants and how they affect your business is important to making the business decisions that can lead to the greatest level of success. Apple has shown a great understanding of the determinants of price elasticity, of demand. When their products were used to be much cheaper, their old slogan used to say, "Does more, costs less," and that's not the case anymore. It does pretty much the same as the substitute competitors, so Huawei, uh, Samsung, and other brands, but they built up a massive, massive level of brand loyalty, which increased demand to an exorbitant level. And as a result, they can function in a market where, regardless of changes, small changes in their prices, the consumers will continue to buy their commodities at a very similar or identical rate. The iPhone latest edition will always sell, even though the upgrade is very minute. Thank you for listening.